was telling my bestie how I regret marrying my husband, but had no idea he was listening. And then,
So I'm not a big Reddit poster, but after what happened to me, I had to share it somewhere. I feel like I've been thrown into some twisted movie plot. It had been a stressful week at work, so I decided to take a little break, treating myself to a hot cup of coffee at Nordlys Cafe, a small place I'd come to love in Oslo. The vintage wooden tables, dim lighting, and faint aroma of freshly ground coffee beans always provided me a comforting escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. After placing my order at the counter, I found a cozy corner spot by the window, giving me a panoramic view of the Oslo streets. As I waited for my coffee, I started getting lost in thoughts, watching people pass by and wondering about their stories. Maybe it's silly, but I always felt everyone had a secret, some hidden tale they weren't sharing with the world. As I was lost in this thought, my ears caught onto a familiar voice. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but when I looked over, there she was. Lyria, my beautiful wife. She was seated a few tables away, laughing with someone. That someone was Juna, her closest friend from college. A small smirk formed on my lips. I thought about how I could surprise her, maybe send over a dessert or just pop by their table for a quick hug. But something stopped me. Something about their hushed tones, the way Juna kept looking around as if to ensure no one was listening. My heart started racing as I realized that Lyria hadn't seen me yet. I leaned back into my chair, carefully hiding behind the menu. I told myself I was just being paranoid. But then I heard it. My name. I don't know, Juna. Sometimes I feel like I made a mistake with Zephyr. My heart sank. The words hit like a punch in the gut. I wanted to shout, to stand up and ask her directly what she meant. But my body froze, and I continued to listen, hoping against hope that I'd misunderstood or that there would be some clarification. But what followed only confirmed my fears, hinting at secrets, betrayals, and a life I didn't know my wife was living. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you confront her immediately or try to gather more evidence? I'm lost, Reddit. Edit. Thank you for the supportive comments. I never expected this post to get so much attention. I'll keep you updated on what unfolds next. Okay guys, first off, thanks for all the comments and DMs from my last post. I'm still trying to process what I heard, but here's an update from the cafe. So there I was, heart pounding in my ears as my wife's voice continued to float over from her table. The atmosphere in Nordlys Cafe shifted for me. What was once a haven now felt like a trap. Every tick of the wall clock felt deafening. Every sip of coffee tasted bitter. Juna, Lyria started, her voice a mix of sadness and desperation. Do you remember that trip I took to Bergen a few months ago? Juna nodded, giving her an encouraging look. Yeah, the business conference, right? Lyria took a deep breath, her fingers playing with the napkin on the table. There was someone there. His name's Thane. I could hear Juna gasp softly. Lyria, are you saying... Lyria bit her lip, hesitating. I don't know how it happened, Juna. One evening, after a session, a group of us went out for drinks, and that's when I met him. He's charismatic, funny, and seemed so interested in my thoughts, my dreams. I was trying hard to hold back my emotions, but hearing her talk about this Thane guy with such fondness, I felt like a dagger was twisting in my chest. This couldn't be happening. Not Lyria. We had shared our dreams. Our love story was the stuff of fairy tales. Or so I had believed. Juna's voice brought me back. But you and Zephyr, you two seemed so perfect. Why would you even think about someone else? Lyria looked down, her voice barely audible. Sometimes, Juna, life isn't about the perfect moments. It's about the real ones. With Zephyr, everything has become so routine, so predictable. With Thane, even for that short time, it felt alive. Now, I'm not proud of this, but at that moment, I was fuming. I wanted to rush over, confront her, ask her how she could do this to us, to our love. But instead, I hid. Behind that damned menu, my shield from the cruel reality unfolding before me. It was a mix of fear, disbelief, and not wanting to make a scene. Reddit, I need your advice again. How do I approach this situation? I don't want to lose my wife, but I can't live with this secret either. Is there a way to heal, to rebuild trust? Or is it already too late? Hey, it's me again. Thanks for the flood of responses on the last update. I can't believe how many of you are invested in my mess of a life. I've read through every single comment, and your support means the world to me. Here's what happened next. It had been a few days since the cafe incident, and the tension at home was palpable. Lyria and I had started to drift, our conversations reduced to mundane pleasantries. I wanted to confront her, but every time I looked into her eyes, I was scared of what I might find. One evening, she was out, probably with Juna again, or so she said. After pacing around our apartment, debating with myself whether to snoop or not, curiosity got the best of me. What if there were more secrets she was hiding? I needed clarity. I needed the truth. With every intention to clear my doubts, I started with the obvious places: her desk, her nightstand. Nothing. But then, a small bulge in the corner of her sock drawer caught my eye. My hands shook as I pulled out a sleek black phone, something I'd never seen before. It was a model unfamiliar to me, and it wasn't password protected. Hesitantly, I began scrolling. Messages, photos, voicemails, a treasure trove of memories. But not ours, hers and Thane's. Messages filled with affectionate emojis, secret plans to meet up in hidden corners of Oslo, and even mentions of a cozy cabin in the Lofoten Islands. Pictures of the two of them laughing, toasting drinks, him giving her a delicate necklace. My vision blurred, tears forming. One message stood out, sent from Thane. Can't wait for the day we can finally be together, without hiding. Love you. The air in the room felt suffocating. I felt like an intruder in my own home, viewing glimpses of a life I wasn't a part of. The weight of betrayal pressing down on me was overwhelming. Reddit, I'm broken. Finding that phone. It's like every fear I had came true. I know I invaded her privacy, and that's not cool. But the magnitude of her deception. I don't know if we can bounce back from this. How do I even begin to address this with her? Is it time to walk away? Edit. I've read suggestions about seeking therapy or counseling. It might be a good idea. Also, thanks to those who've shared their own stories of betrayal. Makes me feel less alone in all of this. I'll update soon. So, after discovering the phone and reading through all those messages, I realized I needed answers. But before I approached Lyria, I felt it was necessary to speak with someone who knew the whole story. That someone was Juna. I texted her, asking if we could meet at the city square near the grand statue of King Christian IV. It's a place bustling with tourists and locals, but I figured the open space might diffuse the tension. She hesitated at first, but after a while she agreed. As I waited for her, my anxiety levels skyrocketed. Each passing second felt like hours, and then, amidst the crowd, I spotted her. With a deep breath, I approached. Juna, I began, my voice shaky. I know. She looked taken aback. Know what, Zafir? Why did you want to meet? I said, Don't play Gamis, Juna. I overheard you and Lyria at the cafe, and I've seen the phone. Juna's face paled, and she fidgeted with her fingers, a nervous habit I remembered from our college days. Zephyr, it's not what you think. Really? Because from where I stand, it looks pretty damn clear. I snapped, anger and pain evident in my voice. Juna hesitated for a moment before letting out a deep sigh. Look, I won't deny it. I knew about Lyria and Thane, but it's not my place to say anything. I was trying to be a good friend. I scoffed. A good friend? By hiding the truth? By watching as my marriage crumbled? She looked down, her eyes glossy. I thought you deserved to know, Zephyr. That's why I let Lyria talk that day at the cafe, hoping you might overhear. My eyes widened in shock. So you knew I was there? She nodded slowly. Yes, but understand this. It was all out of concern for you. I wanted you to find out, confront the situation, maybe even save your marriage. I felt a rush of mixed emotions. Anger, betrayal, sadness, confusion. Everything was overwhelming. So Reddit, here's where I'm at. Juna claims she had my best interests at heart, but can I really trust her? And what do I do about Lyria? The more I dig, the more convoluted this all becomes. Hey Reddit. First off, I can't thank you enough for the continued support and advice. With everything that's been happening, I found myself reflecting on the past, back to the days when everything was simpler. I felt like sharing a bit of our history might give you all, and maybe even myself, some more insight into what went wrong. Rewind to the early 2000s in Tromsø, a picturesque town with its midnight sun and aurora borealis. The place where our story began. Lyria and I were both attending the same high school. It was the sort of school where everyone knew everyone, and the crisp Arctic air filled our lungs with dreams and aspirations. Our story, classic. We were in the school's drama club, preparing for a rendition of Romeo and Juliet. Guess who played the star-crossed lovers? Yep, us. As cliché as it sounds, our onstage romance blossomed into real-life affection. Our dates comprised late-night walks under the auroras, sharing dreams of a future together, holding hands and feeling like the world was at our feet. With her sun-kissed hair and radiant smile, Lyria was the talk of our grade, and she chose me. We had our fair share of ups and downs, of course. Jealousies over co-stars in other plays, petty high school politics, disagreements on our future directions. But we overcame them all. By the time graduation rolled around, we were inseparable. The golden couple of our year. Everyone thought we were destined for each other, and for the longest time so did I. However, there was this one incident that has been nagging at me lately. Senior year, a rumor went around that Lyria had been seen at a party, getting a bit too close to a guy from the year above. I confronted her, and she cried, swearing it was a misunderstanding, and I believed her. But now, with everything unraveling, I can't help but wonder, was our love story always built on shaky ground? Was I always wearing rose-tinted glasses? There you have it, Reddit, a glimpse into our past. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, was it all just a facade? Did the cracks appear long before I noticed them? It's hard seeing your treasured memories in a new, dubious light. Reddit, it's me again. I need to get something off my chest, something I never thought I'd share. It's about a night I spent with an old friend, Alina. The weight of Lyria's secrets and Juna's revelations felt like a noose tightening around my neck. One evening, needing to clear my head and find solace in something familiar, I headed to our favorite pub in the city, the Northern Lights. To my surprise, seated at the bar with a glass of wine in hand, was Alina. We'd been close friends back in university, sharing classes, laughs, and life's ups and downs. But over time, with commitments and life's chaos, we drifted apart. "Zephyr!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. It's been ages. We caught up on life, and the more we talked, the clearer it became that she knew nothing of my marital struggles. There was a comfort in that innocence, a break from the reality I was drowning in. Several rounds in, Alina's gaze shifted. "You know, Zephyr," she began, her voice soft and hesitant. "I always thought you and I, well, we had something. A spark, maybe? I had feelings for you, but you were so in love with Lyria, I never acted on them." I was taken aback. This was a side of Alina I never knew, a chapter of our history I'd completely missed. The evening grew late. The pub's ambiance shifted to a soft, dreamy hue. Vulnerabilities unveiled, and in a mix of alcohol, nostalgia, and a desperate need for connection, we found ourselves in her apartment. The morning sun brought clarity and guilt. As I woke up beside Alina, memories of the night before hit me like a tidal wave. What had I done? Reddit. I've made a mistake. I'm not proud of it. I never imagined myself in this situation. Now I feel I've stooped to Lyria's level. How do I deal with this guilt? Where do I go from here? Edit. To those who've been in a similar situation, your stories are helping me process. To others passing judgment, I get it. I mess it up. I'm only human, trying to find my way through this mess. Hey Reddit. Things have taken a turn that I didn't anticipate. Remember the phone, the secrets, and the betrayal. It's time for some raw truth. Last night, Lyria approached me, her eyes swollen from crying. "Zephyr," she began, her voice trembling. "I can't keep this hidden anymore." My heart raced, preparing for the storm. "Go on," I prompted. She took a deep breath. "Yes, I've been seeing Thane. But it's not as simple as you think. I felt trapped in our marriage. It wasn't because of you or anything specific you did. It was the weight of our past, the weight of being the golden couple. It's as if we were stuck in a narrative we never truly wrote for ourselves. Every choice I made was always in relation to us, never just for me. I was struggling to keep my composure, my mind flashing back to our high school days, our promises, our dreams. "Why Thane?" I managed to ask. She sighed. "With him, I felt free, Zephyr. No baggage, no expectations. It was an escape." I felt my anger surge. "So you just ran away? Instead of talking? Instead of trying?" Her face hardened. "Zephyr, I did try. I tried to talk to you about my dreams, my aspirations. Every time I spoke of wanting something different for myself, you'd brush it off or change the subject. I felt unheard, invisible." The room was thick with tension, unsaid words, and years of emotions. The pain was evident in both our eyes. Reddit, I'm lost. Part of me understands her, while the other part feels completely betrayed. Was I so engrossed in our shared past that I failed to see her present struggles? Were we both to blame? I don't even know where to begin picking up these pieces. I was heading to the market when my phone buzzed. It was Juna. "Can we meet?" she texted, a hint of desperation in her words. Curious, I agreed, and we settled on the local park where the memories of my past confrontations seemed a world away. The moment I saw her, I knew something was amiss. She looked uneasy, shifting from foot to foot. "Zephyr," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "there's something I haven't told you." I raised an eyebrow, bracing myself for more drama. "What is it now?" Juna took a deep breath. I orchestrated all of this. I introduced Lyria to Thane." The revelation caught me off guard. "Wait, what? Why?" She looked down, her face a canvas of guilt and regret. "I've always been envious of Lyria. She had everything I ever wanted. A successful career, you, a perfect life. And I wanted to create chaos, to see if she'd crumble under pressure." My mind raced, trying to piece together her motives. "So, you knowingly introduced her to Thane, betting on an affair?" Juna nodded slowly. "It was a game to me. I never thought it would go this far. But seeing your pain, your marriage unraveling, I can't keep this to myself any longer." I was livid. "You played with our lives, Juna. For what? Some twisted sense of satisfaction?" Juna looked up, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Zephyr. I let my envy and bitterness take over. I never realized the consequences." Reddit, I'm at a loss. Another betrayal, another knife in the back. Is anyone truly trustworthy anymore? Was Juna's confession genuine, or is there more lurking beneath the surface? Reddit, it's been a while since I updated. I wish I could say things have improved, but the truth is, I feel more lost than ever. In the aftermath of Juna's shocking confession, I felt as if the ground beneath me had shifted. Every familiar face, every corner of Oslo seemed like a haunting reminder of the betrayals and lies. My trust had been shattered, not just in Lyria, but in everyone I held close. So I began distancing myself. Slowly, I cut ties with friends, co-workers, anyone who had even the slightest connection to the past events. I'd roam the streets of Oslo, hoping the brisk, cold air and the city's beauty could drown out the chaotic thoughts swirling in my mind. One particular day, as I aimlessly wandered near the Oslo Opera House, its magnificent structure reflecting on the still waters, a thought crossed my mind. How did I get here? I began retracing the steps of my life, from the highs of high school with Lyria to the lows of her betrayal and Juna's confession. The more I thought, the more I felt trapped in a cage of my own making. My heart yearned for connection, but my mind was too scarred to trust again. Sitting on the edge of the fjord, watching the water ripple gently, I wondered if there was any way out. Any way to rebuild, to trust, to love again. Reddit, I'm stuck in this loop of pain and isolation. How do I pull myself out? How do I find myself again amidst this turmoil? Edit. Reading your messages of support and empathy has been a glimmer of hope. I never realized how many of you have faced similar heartaches. Maybe there's light at the end of this dark tunnel. I'll keep pushing through, one step at a time. Reddit. This will likely be my last update. The weight of everything has settled heavily on me, and the biting chill of an Oslo winter mirrors the coldness I feel within. The snow began to fall softly as I made my way to the fjord. Each flake seemed to absorb the ambient city lights, transforming the dark night into a luminescent wonderland. As mesmerizing as it was, the beauty couldn't mask the piercing cold. Standing at the edge, the water looked dark and inviting. I watched as tiny snowflakes met the surface, their brief existence melting away. Much like the fleeting moments of happiness I'd experienced, I couldn't help but draw parallels between the tranquil yet treacherous icy waters and my life's journey. There was a deceptive beauty to it all. The love, the betrayal, the heartbreak. From the passionate days of youth in Tromsø with Olivia, to the dark twists and turns that life threw at us. I wanted answers. I yearned for closure, some sign that the pain and confusion would eventually make sense. But sometimes, life doesn't give us the closure we seek. Sometimes love stories don't have fairy tale endings. As the snow piled on, the cold seeped deeper into my bones. A numbness began to take over, first my fingers, then my heart. Maybe this was how it was meant to end, not with a bang, but with the silent, cold embrace of an Oslo winter night. For those reading, please remember, life is complex and unpredictable. Cherish the moments, learn from the heartbreaks, and always seek help when you feel lost. Edit. If anyone out there feels this way, please talk to someone. Life has its ups and downs, but you never have to face them alone. There are helplines and communities ready to support and listen.
I cannot believe my life has gotten to this point. I'm so overwhelmed with emotions right now, and the only way to let it out is write down what happened. I'm a 55-year-old man engaged to a 52-year-old woman for 1 year. My fiancé is a famous model, and I'm a businessman and own a chain of luxury resorts. Around a year ago, I got engaged to my girlfriend. We were about to get married in the next 6 months. But I recently came to know that I've been lied to. All my plans crumbled. I met my fiancé 2 years ago when she was hired by my company to do a photo shoot for our resorts. She was invited to one of the hotel events. I immediately got drawn to her beauty. That's kinda obvious considering she worked as a model for a living. I was seeing someone else at that moment. My then girlfriend was the same age as me. She did not come with me that day to that event. Even though I found my fiancé really attractive, I kept my distance as I was in a relationship. She came and introduced herself to me. We were having wine and her drink spilled on my jacket. She apologized continuously and then came closer to clean it up. She smiled at me all night long. I went home to my girlfriend without giving it much thought. That time, I had been seeing her for more than 2 years and thought we were going to get engaged because I wanted to start a family soon. A lot of my life had already been spent working, and I wasn't getting any younger. A few days later, while we were discussing our friends getting engaged, she told me that she cannot imagine herself getting married. "What do you mean you don't want to get married?" I asked her. She told me that she loves being in a relationship with me, but marriage wasn't on cards for her. I was visibly shocked by her revelation. We have been dating for 2 years. We never discussed marriage specifically, but I thought that's because she wants us to know each other well before committing our life together. We soon ended our relationship as I didn't want to walk on a road which went nowhere. I started seeing my fiancé a lot more as my company had a lot of campaigns starring her. We started running to each other very frequently. She invited me for dinner as an apology for spilling drinks on me. "Don't invite me just because you're apologetic," I told her. We flirted for a bit and then I asked her out on a date.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, basically everyone who is watching these videos isn't subscribed. It would mean the world to me to quickly get out of the full screen video for 3 seconds and press that subscribe button. It's free and you can unsubscribe anytime. Sorry for bothering and thank you so much if you subscribed.
We enjoyed each other's company and kept on going on dates whenever I was free from work. While we were out on dinner, I told her that even though I enjoyed her company, I didn't want to immediately get into another relationship. I had just come out of one and my work was my priority. "I understand, honey," she told me. I was happy to just date her without any pressure. I did want to get married, but not without love. I was a workaholic, or that's what people told me, but I still believed in love. As time passed, I thought I was finally ready for a relationship and we got together. She moved in my house and we were happy together, or so I thought. Since she was a model, she used to stay in contact with many guys from her industry. Male models, photographers, producers, but I never paid much attention to it because I trusted her and it was related to her job. I was quite preoccupied by my work as well. One evening, we went for dinner. She was in a really gorgeous dress. She seemed extra perky that evening. She shocked me when she told me that she wanted to get married to me. I feel we are ready, she said with a soft smile on her face. I didn't expect it, but I sort of agreed with her. I got her an engagement ring the next day and we were engaged. I had a good run of luck going. Both my professional and personal life were thriving. I was content after a long time in my life. I came home with my fiancé's favorite flowers, only it wasn't her who opened the door of our home. A young guy who looked like he was in his teens opened the door and looked at me like he didn't know that it was my house he was standing at. "Who are you?" I asked him. He told me that he's my girlfriend's assistant. It felt a bit weird to me because I have never seen this dude around. I asked my girlfriend later how she met this guy. She told me that some agency hired him for her as her previous assistant had resigned. He was 20 years old. I didn't pay much attention to it after that. He used to hang around our home a lot more than I liked, but it was all right. It was a Friday afternoon and I was swamped with work. My fiancé called and asked if we were still going for dinner that evening. I told her I won't be able to get out of the office. She said it's fine and that we can reschedule. I would have done just that, except I felt that I shouldn't be prioritizing my work anymore and give attention to my future wife. I left early for home that day. I thought it's best if I just surprise her with dinner at her favorite restaurant. I used my passcode to let myself in. She wasn't in the living room, so I made my way to the bedroom. Before I could open the door, I heard voices. It was of a male and my fiancé. It was clear they were in bed together. I hid behind the curtains before they opened the door. I saw them coming out of my bedroom. They were laughing together as my blood boiled. She was barely wearing clothes. The furniture was blocking the way, so I couldn't see the guy. I could just see his wrist. I knew that I've seen that watch before, I just couldn't place it. I didn't want to confront her yet. I wanted to know what else was going behind my back while I was blissfully unaware. I left the apartment after she went to her shower. I went straight to my office and started thinking. She was cheating on me with another man. I needed to find out who this man was. After that, I would have decided what to do with her. I was going to make sure that she paid for her betrayal. She had no right to give me hope for the future and then go behind my back like that. I came home later that evening. This time, she was waiting for me. She told me that she missed me. She kissed me and gave me the same smile, which made me feel like I won the world. I let her kiss me as my heart was consumed by a mix of anger and heartache. Everything went normal. We had dinner and then went to sleep. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking what was going behind this gorgeous double face of hers. If she wanted someone else, why did she tell me that she wants to get married to me? I decided I am going to figure it all out. Next morning in my office, I talked to my security head to install a CCTV camera at my apartment. I even asked him to install one in my bedroom. I wasn't going to let her go without knowing everything. I instructed them to install it quickly when she wasn't at home. The cameras got installed when she was out shooting some campaigns. Now I just had to wait and see what happens. I watched her coming back home from work, her assistant trailing her. They were talking about something, I guessed work-related. Then he left after dropping her off. I kept waiting, but nothing happened. No guy entered the premises. My fiancé also seemed pretty normal. I was confused, but decided it's better to keep an eye on her. I kept our relationship just the way it used to be. I kept paying her hefty credit card bills. I didn't want her to know that I knew about her secret till I figured out who the guy was. Days passed by but nothing happened. I started getting more frustrated. I felt as if I had hallucinated her with someone else. I was almost convinced that it was just my hallucination. We were having breakfast when her assistant joined us. I asked him to pass me the juice when my eyes fell on his wrist. It was the same watch I saw that day. This couldn't be a mere coincidence, I thought to myself. I also noticed that it was a pretty expensive watch. I didn't know how he was affording it on the income of a personal assistant. My head was full of thoughts, emotions, and questions, and I didn't have an answer to any of those. If my fiancé was cheating on me with her assistant, why didn't they do anything after that day? They looked so platonic on camera that I couldn't even have guessed it. I finally found the missing piece, but it still felt like that I'm missing a lot of things. I needed to figure everything out before removing her from my life. I wasn't a person who made rash decisions. I needed to think about everything properly. I decided that I need to find more about her assistant. I never paid enough attention as to what they were doing. All I knew was that he was 20 years old and hired by her modeling agency. I contacted her modeling agency, and that call left me stunned and even more confused than I was before. Her modeling agency didn't hire him. They didn't even know who he was. She lied to me. It shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. I started finding out more about him, and everything that I came to know kept surprising me continuously. His apartment was leased in the name of my fiancé. She got the apartment the same time this guy came to work for her. She also paid his credit card bills. It wasn't making sense at all. Why was she giving money to this guy? I had enough of this nonsense, and I needed to know the truth. I called her up and told her that I need to discuss something with her while her assistant is present. She seemed hesitant but agreed. I met them at home. Both of them were quite anxious as to what I had to say. I asked him if he liked working for her. He seemed shocked by my question but then nodded his head. I then asked him if he liked our home. He nodded again. I asked him another question about food and got the same reply. I then asked him, "Did you like sleeping with my fiancé on my bed?" He was about to nod but then realized what the question was. Both of them turned red and looked at each other while also looking at me. "What are you talking about?" my fiancé asked, her voice lacking the confidence it always has. "I'm talking about the very same thing you did behind my back." I told them quietly. It was confirmed now that she was cheating on me. It was best to know the entire truth at once than getting hurt again after some time. "Explain something to me, honey. Why is my fiancé getting a house on lease for a guy she claims to not know?" I said quietly, but even I could hear the anger in my voice. "How did you know?" she asked, surprised by the information I just presented to her. I told them to not waste time and to keep speaking. Turns out that I've been living a complete lie. Our entire relationship was nothing more than a scam. As she told me the truth, maybe for the first time since I knew her, I felt my chest hurting all over again. She was in an arrangement with this guy where she would take care of all his expenses. This arrangement began before she started dating me. They had a physical relationship. She would take care of his expenses, and he would be with her when she wanted. She only came into my life to use me for my money. Everything in our relationship was planned by her. She only spilled that wine on me to come closer to me the first time we met. She knew I was in a relationship, but she still wanted to be with me. Everything after that, which I thought was sweet and genuine, was carefully strategized by her. She was never in love with me. She just needed me because she knew her modeling career won't last forever and needed someone reliable to lean on. I was that person for her. I listened to her as she told me how she proposed to me because she was afraid I would break up with her just like I broke up with my last girlfriend, and that would have ruined her plan. Also, being my wife would have given her unlimited access to my money. I couldn't believe her at once, but I knew she was telling the truth. She told me she didn't do anything with him at our home after that day because she had a suspicion that I had installed cameras when she came back from shoot. She just couldn't find them. She knew she couldn't look for them as well because then it would become obvious to me. They decided to act professional in my home even in my absence just to fool me. Her admission was so shocking that I needed to hold myself so I wouldn't fall to the floor. I gave her everything I have, and this is how she chose to repay me. I told her to get out of my house before I kicked them out. All my life I worked hard to build myself and my family a good life. But I never thought it would repay me like that. I got played, and why? Because of my wealth. No, I wasn't taking blame for her actions. It wasn't my fault that my fiancé was such a bad person who likes to play with the feelings of others. I was going to make her pay for what she did to me. I hired a private investigator and told him to bring me every information about her and that guy. He started working on it immediately. When I thought nothing could surprise me anymore, it did. I wasn't the only guy she played with for money. She had used various men who were successful in their field to take care of her while she continued her arrangement. I would have forgiven her if she lied to me or if she was apologetic as to what she had done. But I wasn't going to forgive her for playing me from the start of our relationship. She was using me as a pawn in her elaborate game, and I refused to let it go. She had to face the consequences of her actions. I was going to make sure that she faced every bit of it. I wanted to see her suffer the same way she made me suffer, or maybe even worse. She had given me so many surprises recently that I thought she was worth one herself. I worked on that surprise, day and night. I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted it to be perfect from all angles. I called my connections to know about her latest show. She was going to model in it as the showstopper. She loved being the center of attention, and my surprise would make her center of attention all her life. Everywhere she'll go, people will recognize her. The day of the show couldn't have come any longer. I was waiting for this day for so many days. I never heard from my fiancé after she left my apartment with that guy. But I was going to meet her at her show. She told me that she hated that I didn't attend her shows, and here I was. The show began and everything went normally. The runway had a screen with a projector behind it. It zoomed in on the models as they walked the runway. I sat there patiently as my ex-fiancée made her way to the runway. Instead of zooming in on her, the screen showed evidence of her cheating on me with a 20-year-old guy. The crowd gasped, but I knew there was more to come. The screen continued showing pictures of her with different men and how she lived on their money and kept on cheating them. Her face went pale as she stood on the runway frozen, not knowing what to do. The surprise was worth it after all. I wanted her to feel the hurt that she had caused me. Everyone in the audience started talking among themselves. People questioned her character and integrity. The news reporters were busy taking pictures, making sure they didn't leave anything for their newspaper's deadline. The staff escorted her out of the runway as she stood there without moving. I knew that she didn't see this coming. My work was done here, I thought to myself, and left.